feel like most Ninjago fans all have at least one episode, or maybe even a few episodes, that they can point to and say, yeah, that one is my favourite episode, or those are my favourite episodes if I had to really sum them up. And without sounding like I'm just blatantly begging for more comments on this video, I would actually really love it if you guys went down into the comment section of this video and told me what your favourite episode or episodes of Ninjago actually are. Like, seriously, I am just really interested to know, because that's kind of what I am going to be talking about today. Kind of. Because I've always said it in the past whenever I make Q&A videos and just whenever I answer questions, I don't think I necessarily have a complete favourite episode. There just isn't an episode I feel is just the best written, just the most fun to watch. I have seasons that I think are the most fun to watch and are the most well written, but when it comes to an individual episode, an episode that really just is better than the rest, I don't necessarily have that. But recently, as I'm sure most of you do know by now if you've been watching my very previous video, if you haven't though, by the way, first of all, I recommend checking it out, and second of all, well, I've been watching all of Ninjago again recently. I'm currently on season 2 of Ninjago in my rewatch, and a few days ago now, I came across an episode that just connected with me, and I kind of forgot that I had this connection with it. But this goes back to around 2016, the summer of 2016 to be specific, when I was first getting into Ninjago for the very, very first time. I would have been, what, like 9, 10, I think, around that kind of age. And I was watching these episodes for the very first time back then, and I have so many different memories with these episodes back when I was watching them for the first time, to the point where, when I rewatch these episodes in the present day, a lot of all I can think about is just those memories. But that's nostalgia for you, right? But one of these Season 2 episodes really does stand out above the rest for me, and that is Child's Play, the episode where Lloyd turns big. And this is a very, I suppose maybe it could be considered a fan favourite episode, maybe, but that's just kind of me talking off the top of my head. I'm not sure if it necessarily does classify as one, but if it doesn't, then I'm sure it's a very memorable episode. And this isn't even necessarily a fan favourite episode in my humble personal opinion. It's just one of those episodes that I will always remember. It has so many crazy aspects going on within it that just makes it kind of unforgettable, if that makes any sense. Again, I'm not too sure if I could necessarily consider myself a huge fan of this episode. I'm not sure I would really rank it in my top 5 favourite episodes of all time when it comes to Ninjago. I'm just not too sure it's really that great, but when it comes to maybe the top 5 most unforgettable Ninjago episodes, and episodes that I will never truly forget, then yeah, this one probably does actually rank pretty high. Obviously, you've got the whole ninja turning young thing, and I think that that made for some genuinely very, like, actual funny scenes. And when it comes to Ninjago, I'm not necessarily one to find most of the jokes funny. I'm sorry, I have to be blunt and just say it, I just do not find the show particularly funny. But Child's Play, with the ninja actually turning young, and seeing how they actually react to that, and most importantly, seeing how Lloyd reacts to that in the scene where they meet up at Buddy's Pizza, all of that is actually really quite funny. We also get introduced to Lloyd's comic book obsession in this episode, which was also, in a way, kind of funny, but I mostly laugh at Lloyd because of how massively whiny the voice acting is. It's just kind of hilarious, so I don't necessarily laugh intentionally at the jokes in that instance, but it just ends up being hilarious to me for whatever reason there. And obviously, right at the end, you have the whole Grundle thing going on. That was actually really quite cool. It was our first proper insight into some really random Ninjago history with old creatures that once lived, which, by the way, can we all imagine Grundles just running around Ninjago? That's kind of crazy to think about, and it's one of those really strange things that I don't really think anybody really does spend time thinking about. But regardless, it's one of those things that I personally imagine when watching these episodes. And also, the police, the museum guy in the episode, those whole characters were so stupid, so goofy, but once again, they gave this episode some weird charm to it that I can actually really, really appreciate. But finally, when it comes to this episode and what makes it so unforgettable is obviously the scene where Lloyd actually turns bigger. They use the potion that turns back the clock, it turns the Grundle back to bones, that were originally just left into the museum as an exhibit, and in doing so, it actually has the opposite effect on Lloyd, where he turns bigger into a teenager, I suppose you could say. And that is where we're going to be leaving Lloyd's aging process for pretty much the rest of the entire show. Obviously, you have the redesigns later on, but those don't really count. But up until season 7, Lloyd sticks with this design and this voice, and yeah, it's kind of a pivotal moment for Lloyd's history. I do definitely like how aware the ninjas were of Lloyd turning older. You know, they didn't really want to do it. They were very hesitant about doing this because obviously then he misses out on a lot of his very young childhood. So I definitely did like that. It was kind of a cool character moment for the 4 ninja. But other than that, man, it was just such a nostalgic scene. It was just so impactful, I suppose you could say, especially compared to a lot of other scenes from before this point in Ninjago's history, and it's just one of these scenes that is so important, therefore making this a really unforgettable Ninjago episode. But again, it's not just because of this one scene where Lloyd turns older. I think that there are a lot of other aspects to it that make it such an unforgettable episode, but that's kind of a very personal thing for me, and I know that absolutely nobody else is inclined to agree by any stretch of the imagination. This is a very subjective thing, but I thought that it would make for a really interesting topic of conversation to have with all of you here today. With this being said though, that is going to conclude things here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do feel free to leave a like on it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more like this. I do really appreciate all of the support I've been getting. Please also turn on that notification bell for more like this. Oh, and also feel free to leave any comments you have regarding this topic down below. I would love to hear them. With all of this being said though, I will speak to you all very, very soon, hopefully for a new video, and I will catch you all soon. So, goodbye.